Welcome to Illuminati Silver. We tell you the truth about silver. Today is Wednesday, the 30th of September 2020, and we're looking at the market's initial reaction to the Trump-Biden first general election debate. So let's take a look. Yesterday, we published a video entitled, Silver Jumps Above $24, but Will It Fall Back? At which time we saw silver rise to as high as $24.42, which ironically was at that level the time we produced the video, and we asked whether it was likely to break through $25 or fall back below $24. Our view generally was that it was likely to fall back, but much depended on a number of factors, the most imminent, not necessarily prominent, but the most imminent of which was the pending first general election debate between President Donald Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden, which was due a few hours later. We watched the debate and frankly, whilst it was a little entertaining, no real policy issues came to the fore, and really, to be honest, it was reminiscent of that sort of petty squabbling one would normally see in the school playground. Nevertheless, markets have reacted a little to the debate, even though initially they remained little change. Now, before we give our analysis of what's happened since then, let's read what Reuters put up earlier this morning, and we shall then look at what's happened since. Reuters article dated 30th of September 2020, 4:07 a.m. GMT +1, and then updated 2 hours ago, which is 800 hours GMT +1. Headline: First US presidential debate fails to move investors. US stock futures fluctuated slightly, but markets and investors were largely stoic as an acrimonious first debate between US presidential candidates ended on Tuesday. Republican President Donald Trump repeatedly interrupted Democratic rival Joe Biden in the Cleveland debate, the first ahead of the November 3rd US presidential elections that touched on Trump's taxes, the economy, the coronavirus pandemic, and election integrity. While betting odds makers showed little change in the odds as the debate progressed, US stock futures, ESCV1, initially rose as much as 0.6% before turning to be flat. Right now it looks like an even split between Trump and Biden, so it's difficult for the markets to move, said Ayako Sira, a market strategist at Sumitomo Mitsui Trust Bank in Tokyo. What people are most concerned about is the fairness of the election and how it will be carried out. Biden, 77, has held a consistent lead over Trump, 74, in national opinion polls, although surveys in the battleground states that will decide the election show a closer contest. The dollar index against a basket of currencies was flat at 93.817. With more than 1 million Americans already casting early ballots and time running out to change minds or influence the small sliver of undecided voters, the debate showed the men trading barbs rather than moving the needle on investor perception. The first of 3 scheduled debates came at a fraught moment on Wall Street. The S&P 500 SPX tumbled around 10% from record highs this month, before recently paring some of those losses as investors worried about a prolonged recovery from the coronavirus and uncertainty related to the presidential vote. Many investors view Biden as more likely to raise taxes and see a second term for Trump, who favors tax cuts and deregulation, as better for the overall stock market. At the same time, a Trump win could spark concerns over ramped-up tensions between Washington and Beijing. In the run-up to the 2016 election, investors widely predicted that a Trump victory would hurt stocks due to his unpredictability and trade war threats against China and Mexico. However, the S&P 500 surged 5% in the month following his unexpected election win in what was dubbed the Trump trade, as investors bet Trump would cut taxes and regulation and boost infrastructure spending. The markets almost always think they favour a Republican, but did just fine under Clinton and Obama. There is comfort in the hindsight perspective regardless of what happens, said Jake Dollarhide, Chief Executive Officer of Longbow Asset Management in Tulsa, Oklahoma, as he watched the debate. With expectations that the increased use of mail-in ballots by voters concerned about the coronavirus could mean no immediate winner is announced, S&P 500 options show investors are bracing for volatility in November and December. Trump declined last week to commit to a peaceful transfer of power if he loses, and said he expected the election battle to end up before the Supreme Court. End of article. Okay, so limited reaction by markets initially, though the landscape has moved a little, though admittedly not significantly so far. Now, firstly, around midnight, GMT +1 that is, gold marginally touched, maybe a cent or two slightly below, but marginally touched $1,900. This was before the debate. It has since fallen back to its current level of $1,884, still some $24 higher than last Friday's close. Silver peaked earlier yesterday at 1840 GMT +1 at $24.42 and has since fallen back to $23.66. European equities are broadly down around 0.5%, while Asia-Pacific markets broadly closed around down 2%. Now, immediately after the debate, Dow futures fell more than 200 points, and as of about an hour ago, the Dow is predicted to open down 266 points, the S&P 500 is due to open down 30 points, and the Nasdaq down 125 points. Of course, this could change by the time the US markets actually open. Now, the dollar index has strengthened and is once again above 94, currently at 94.13, and oil prices are generally down around 50 cents a barrel. That's crude oil prices. So, the debate, if anything, has caused the dollar to strengthen and equities to fall, but really in the overall scheme of things, markets are little affected so far. Now, later today, we have the ADP employment report, which will likely give a guide to the non-farm payrolls due on Friday, plus GDP revision for Q2. These could affect markets a little, but as we pointed out yesterday, the coronavirus pandemic is still likely to have the greatest impact moving forward in conjunction with what the economic data reveals. We are expecting a reasonably good jobs report, and as mentioned in Saturday's weekly update, not rule out the possibility of a correction downwards after the election. Now, we shall produce a video podcast later today if we feel sufficient news is released or markets change fundamentally. But before we close this podcast, just a reminder of what we pointed out yesterday as to why silver, but it relates to gold too, but we were talking about silver, actually recovered quite strongly yesterday. The first was the speed of last week's fall, and depth was seen as a little overdone too quickly. The second was that the dollar had fallen back, but now this morning has recovered again, but not to the same level that it closed on Friday. The political agenda creeping in, obviously, because of the debate between Trump and Biden. But again, we can see that markets haven't strongly reacted to that first debate. The COVID concerns, especially with global deaths topping 1 million, and the bankruptcies that were the result of the incessant lockdowns that we've encountered. And also, finally, economists and institutional investors somewhat concerned over future inflation levels. So let's not forget, later today, GDP revision quarter 2, ADP employment report, that will probably be the most important, and Chicago PMI for September. Thank you so much for listening. Please, by all means, comment below as to where you feel the markets are likely to head later today, and your thoughts of the outcome of that presidential debate. Meanwhile, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our channel and press the bell sign so that you're notified of our videos as and when they are published. So until either later today or tomorrow, we bid you a very enjoyable and prosperous day ahead. We hope you have found this video interesting and informative, and if so, please give it a thumbs up and share it on social media. Please ensure that you have subscribed to our channel and press the bell sign so that you are notified of any future videos. Also, kindly visit our website at illuminatisilver.com, and if you haven't already done so, please subscribe either as a free or paying member for regular email updates and offers. Disclaimer: Illuminati Silver owners come from a background of banking, international wealth management and economics. Having now retired from these worlds, we are not qualified to give investment advice. Therefore, this and other productions must not be deemed to be giving such advice and merely represent the personal views of its owners.